All right, guys, today's episode is going to be about how I set up macros. Actually, it's not. We already did that episode. Today's episode is going to be about podcasts. I like podcasts. I listen to them when I'm cooking dinner. I listen to them when I'm walking around outside. But what I'm going to talk about is me being on podcasts. Today I was on a podcast called Going Deep with Aaron Watson. I was standing right here, and I had my camera there and my phone camera there in case my camera went out, and it did, so we used that. And there was my laptop, and this was up to get the good lighting. And I stood here like this and talked to him and recorded it. So I'm going to play some clips of that podcast throughout this vlog, if you want to call it that, throughout this daily upload, as I explain my thought processes behind why I talk about the things I talk about and why I am allocating my time towards that activity. This will absolutely be helpful for any entrepreneurs, anyone with like a personal brand or who wants to have a personal brand or with like any entrepreneurial spirit. I think will find value, and I think everyone will find this topic interesting. So the first question is, why do I even do podcasts? Distribution of content. So I'm putting content in the places where people pay attention and trying to make that content both entertaining and informative for those people. However, most of the stuff I put out is for my audience, like 90+%. When I upload a video, it's primarily people who already watch, like most of you guys are already watching my videos. When I post something on my blog and email it to my email list, though, there isn't a lot of new audience there. There's organic reach on YouTube, like blog posts get shared, Facebook videos get shared. That's a great way to find new audiences. But going on someone's podcast is almost exclusively new audience, unless you're like super, super big time, which I'm not. I would say 95 to 99% of the people on this listening to this podcast when it airs have no idea who I am. So that's very valuable because this is a first impression with a brand new audience. Now, one thing I don't love about podcasts is that it doesn't play to my strengths. I'm good at writing. I'm like decently charismatic / above average look / like this works for picture and video and stuff. But my voice is whatever, and my storytelling ability live on the fly isn't that great. Like it's one of my weaker modes of content delivery. Which brings me to the second reason I do podcasts. So I spend most of my time by myself, writing, replying to emails, thinking, walking, a lot of creative stuff. I don't interact with a ton of humans, and that can make an individual go insane. So communicating with someone else, it's fun. That's it. There's probably also an element of when you're being interviewed, you're talking about yourself, and people like talking about themselves. So it's both human interaction, talk about myself, content distribution, and the third reason, meet some really cool people. Like anyone who put the time and energy into setting up a podcast and running a podcast has some drive, has some hustle, has some ambition, is somewhat like-minded with me to begin with. And then if they reached out because they want to talk to me and they want to interview me, we're going to be semi-like-minded. And I've met a lot of cool people from meeting them on their podcasts. Next question is, how do I choose which podcasts I do and which podcasts I don't do? Because clearly, I can't do every single time I'm asked, I can't do it. I don't know what that would be, but if it's 5 or 7 or 10 or 15 hours a week that I would spend, that's draining. I'm introverted. Conversation drains me more than creating things, and it's not my strength. It's just not a place that I want to be allocating a lot of time right now. So the way I choose are, one of the reasons is obviously if it's a huge podcast, I'm going to say yes, of course, big audience, like the business side of me is going to do that. I've never been on a big podcast before, so that hasn't been relevant up until now, but I would say yes. Some other influencing factors are, did someone introduce me to the podcast host? Like, do we have a mutual relationship? Do I already know who they are? Are we already friends? I'm probably going to do it. 2, if I do a little bit of Googling when they reach out, does anything jump out at me that makes me want to do it? 3, and probably most importantly, even though it shouldn't be the most important, what kind of mood am I in when they reach out? Like, I charge through my personal inbox in the morning. I have my client emails and I have my personal emails. I get in my personal inbox and I just I'm just like like in Zelda when you're just like hacking weeds, I'm just going to town. I'm trying to get through it as fast as I can because I need to move on to other stuff. And so if I'm in a good mood, if I'm already super caffeinated and I'm like, yeah, I'll just quick reply yes. Sometimes I won't even like do any research. I'll just link them to the 15-minute coffee post and be like, so sorry I can't do this, but like reach out in a few months. By the way, I kind of feel like a piece of shit for earlier when I like referenced myself as good looking and lifted my shirt up. I feel very vain and I kind of want to edit this out, but this has basically been one take so far. Most of my stuff's one take and I want to roll with it. Quick story, not about podcasts, off topic. I remember when like a year ago, Roman was talking to some other fitness people who like fitness entrepreneurial type want to move their business online, and I was there and he was talking about me, and he like referenced the fact that I was an 8 across the board. Like we were talking about niches, that's what it was. And they're like, Mike doesn't have a niche. He's like, Mike doesn't have a niche because he's an 8 across the board. He's like 8 out of 10 writer. He's like 8 out of 10 on camera. He's 8 out of 10 good looking. He's like 8 out of 10 ripped and looks the part. Like he is well above average at everything. So he doesn't have to have a niche. He can like be a general fat loss guy and get away with it, which pissed me off so much. I don't know if I ever told him that, but I was like, fuck you. I'm like a 5 out of 10 looks and I'm a 10 out of 10 writer and I work my ass off and I'll work you all like under the table every single day. But since I've like, because I've never in my entire life thought that I was attractive, like not once. And I still don't really, but I'll concede that I'm like above average in looks, and I will absolutely concede that being above average in looks is a benefit. It's like a gift. It helps you in things, in business specifically. So that's why I said that. All right, let's get the show on the road. All right, let's get into this podcast I did today. Real quick, couple things. So it was just audio, not video, even though we were on Skype. So I'm like looking all over. You can't hear them because I have headphones. I'll put words on the screen. This was just the first 6 minutes. We're just chit chat before the show stuff. How are you? Nice to meet you. He told me a little bit about him. Boom. Thank you. I'm honored and I'm excited to talk. Okay. So this clip you're about to watch is interesting. Normally, a host leads with like the backstory question, very generic, and then you can tell the story of your background and you can make it longer or shorter. You can modify it for the audience. If it's an entrepreneur-focused podcast, I'm going to spend more time talking about the transition of quitting my job to like, doing entrepreneurial stuff. If it's more of a fitness audience, I'll talk more about the specifics of my background and my experiences in fitness growing up. But here he asked... What did he ask? What do you spend each day doing? Absolutely, I'm pumped to be here. Sure, so I'm a strength coach. On a day-to-day basis, I create things. I write, I make YouTube videos, I put content out to try to help people with fitness stuff. And for the majority of that people, that means getting leaner, losing some body fat, getting stronger, feeling better, and doing it in a way that is conducive to like a more quote-unquote normal lifestyle, right? Not like a competitive bodybuilder or competitive CrossFitter or someone who wants to be in the gym 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, but someone who wants to achieve their goals as like a part of their life without making fitness their entire life. It's not even close to reality. And then you give them that plan, and on day 3, their coworker at their new job or their boss wants to go to a happy hour, and you're not gonna say no. You wanna impress your boss, and you have 2 beers and a handful of peanuts or whatever, and you think you screwed up your plan on day 3 already, when really you didn't. You just had too restrictive a plan to begin with. Then we get into the background where here I focus on the quitting of my job, why I picked that job and why I'm doing what I'm doing, because there is that entrepreneurial audience, like a young, primarily male with a little bit of that entrepreneurial hustle. So I grew up in Minnesota, 2 like super hardworking parents, went to Wisconsin, Big Ten school, and chose a major based on like it was 06, 07, 08, market crash. I was interested in business because that's what my dad did, got into business school my junior year, and picked accounting as a major because that was the safe and secure thing, and it was a big scary world out there, and like you go, you get this job, and like there are a ton of jobs if you can get good grades in this major, and that's what I chose. More out of fear of the unknown and out of like social pressure. I didn't know anyone who was just doing, I didn't know anyone doing anything super unconventional, or at least not very many people. And then there's the accolades of like, my parents' friends are proud of the fact that I go and get a good job at this Big 4 accounting firm, and like those kinds of things. So after hearing my backstory, he presses on the decision, the transition of quitting my job, and like what were the factors that went into that, because he's trying to pull out, I know he's trying to pull out actionable steps for the listeners, because many of them, I'm sure, are in that position, and that's why they're listening to his podcast. Yes, it wasn't an irrational or an impulsive decision. The second I got out of school, I was working to pay off my debt as soon as possible, my student loans, so that I could, like the little bit of student loans I had, because my parents were very helpful with school, but like to get to the point where I could start saving so that I could quit. Like within 3 or 4 months, I was planning to not be there. Like I'm trying to think of a real straw that broke the camel's back. My college girlfriend, like long-term girlfriend, left me kind of during my first year at this new job, and so I was like sad and beat up about that, which turned into anger and fire and motivation, which was a really good thing in hindsight. But I wasn't planning for the fitness stuff. I wasn't planning for the next thing. I was planning to be able to not be doing accounting. If that makes, like I was literally just planning to quit, and I didn't have any foresight as to what I would be doing. And so I was saving my paychecks. Back then, internet poker was still illegal in the USA, so I would wake up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and play online poker for 2 or 3 hours, like making a little bit of money on the side doing that, and just not doing a lot, like not really going out, saving money. Had several roommates, so I was saving on rent, and really just like set on, I didn't have a date in mind, but it was a gut feeling, a level of security that I needed enough money to make the jump, and then I did. I haven't run the numbers, but I might have been insolvent in the amount of time it took me to have a business that I was making money and like not losing money every single month. Pretty good clip right here about imposter syndrome and self-doubt and getting started, whether or not you're the absolute best in your field, and putting stuff out there even though it's scary. So let's start with imposter syndrome, because I don't know that that ever goes away. That's something I still feel today. That's something that I hear like people 1,000 times more successful than me talk about. Like, I don't know that that'll ever go away. As far as imposter syndrome, specifically around not having a certificate at the time I launched my website, was non-existent, because I had and still have such a disrespect for certifications in the fitness industry. Like, so many of them are just money-making machines. They're BS, basically. Like, you can literally log online right now and in 20 minutes pay $99 and have a fitness certificate that you can leverage to get a job in a commercial gym. So not having a cert, and then when I started training in person shortly after, I got a cert, because you need a certification to get insurance. Like, it's part of the process of training clients in the gym. But I would say like literally 0.01% of my knowledge comes from formal certification. Informal certification, like all of it, experience and reading, are the two places where I've learned everything that I've learned. Like experience training myself over the years, and experience training clients in the gym, and experience working with clients online, and everything I've read. Like, that's where the knowledge comes from. But yeah, I don't think imposter syndrome in general ever goes away. Like, there's always someone smarter, there's always someone who knows more, and I think you just have to continue to read and try to get better every single day. Quick little clip here on the first steps to starting my business. Right there. What were like my very first steps? The website was up. I posted on Facebook, I have this website now, and a whole bunch of people went to it on that very first day, and I thought, this is great. I actually timed it on my birthday
so that I knew people would be coming to like my Facebook page for the happy birthday. Back then you couldn't just do it from your news feed, like you had to go to the person's page. And so it got probably even more traffic than it should have, like 800 clicks. And I didn't see 800 page views again for like 9 months. I don't even know how long it was. It was literally like 4, 5, 9, 2 readers per day as I'm posting content. I don't think I did amazing things early on. I was spammy on Twitter, like I followed a bunch of people who were interested in fitness to try to get a follow back, which isn't really a strategy I recommend at all now. I mean, it's enormous. Like creating content, I didn't, like I said before, I didn't have a business. I just had things to say, and I put them in the form that came naturally at the time, which was writing. Now I'm trying to put helpful content in the places where people pay attention all the time. Massively overlap, because when I'm writing a blog post or when I'm vlogging or even when I'm answering client emails, that leads me down these research rabbit holes where I'll take an hour away from what I was doing and like deep dive on something because I need to get a specific question answered that I am not 100% sure on the answer to. But content's the game, and I don't even, at least my game, right? Like I'm not a good businessman, by the way. Like there are plenty of ways to grow a business. Like you can advertise, you can do influencer marketing type stuff, but putting good, helpful, free content in the places where people pay attention and like doing it every single day is how I have built an online brand. I literally, it's just not in my nature to hard sell, so I don't write like salesy emails ever. I put tons of free stuff out, and I offer a coaching service, and people have like just apply.
Super quick Gary V background.
He pitched me on this idea of full-time, train me every single day, take care of all my food, drop all of your other in-person clients, like, travel with me, go on my business trips, go on my vacations. Like I want an all-in commitment to my health. So there are a couple really big ones. The first is, like, you know, the cliche entrepreneurial, the 5 people you spend the most time with, like, etc., you're the average of them. Like, he made that so true for me, because he is such a positive person and such an optimistic person that being around him literally made me feel good about myself. Like literally seeing him every day in the morning had a huge impact on my confidence and my self-belief and like my energy and my vibe and like everything. So that is something that I'm applying aggressively and have been, but going forward, just being very analytical about and like strategic about who I'm spending time with.
All right, guys, so the audio for the rest of it actually wasn't syncing with the video. As you can see, it was starting to get off. When I switched from my camera to my phone, something goofy happened. But it was a lot of business stuff, a lot of like rah-rah, like what was going into the decision-making process of quitting your job. Like that's a lot of what we were talking about yesterday, and it's contextual. It's the audience. That audience doesn't want to hear me deep dive on training and nutrition strategies to get leaner, stronger, better. But yesterday I was on a podcast with this dude Jason, and for like 20 minutes we jammed on the specific nutrition philosophies that I preach and that I have my clients adhere to, and talk about differences between clients and how I modify nutrition based on those differences. Like it's all contextual to the audience. It just has to be. So in conclusion to that long video, I do podcasts because they're fun. I try to cater the content to the audience. It's distribution and it's brand new audience, which is important for the reach and for bringing people into my world and into my community. And it's just good practice. It's good one take, straight through, talking for a long period of time, not like a quick snap or a video that gets chopped up or like a blog post that I can go back and edit 157 times before I hit publish. It's as closely aligned to speaking without being actually in front of the people. So it's getting my storytelling ability in long form, on the fly, live. It's elevating that. Thanks again for watching, you guys, and for caring about what I have to say. I'll see you tomorrow.